I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings obliteration. I will face my fear, and I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it is gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Welcome back to Should You Watch This with the Popcorn Priest, a weekly podcast where movie enthusiasts, ex-movie theater projectionists, new and old friends take the time to talk about a movie that we just watched and answer that very question, should or shouldn't you watch this? Welcome back to the show, my Reverend Mother tribe, and how did I get sand in their coal?
That's right. I'm a Bene Gesserit.
You're a Bene Gesserit mother, Reverend Mother.
I don't know. Yeah, whatever the titles are.
Beyond fear, destiny.
My designs are in centuries or something like that.
The future, I can see it. There's a crusade coming.
Let's fight like demons.
What's going on?
Yeah, you hear that?
Fear is the mind killer.
Is that a Beatles song there?
There's like some score, like some singing, like quiet.
Yeah, no, that seems like a...
That's crazy.
I can't remember it.
Anyway.
It bothers me, though. Both trailers have Jason Momoa saying the line he did not say. So he's saying, let's fight like demons. He's saying they fight like demons in the movie because he's describing the Fremen.
That's correct.
And they're just like, no.
I don't like it.
I don't like when they lie to us like that.
All right.
They're disrespecting us.
Disrespectful movie makers.
Marketing. The movie makers are beyond criticism if they provide.
That's true. Those who edit these trailers.
It's like Denis Villeneuve just provided us movie magic, and I will not blame him.
I will not blame him. You're without blame, Denis, and we thank you for listening.
If they had asked you, I'm sure you would have said no.
Let's get into popcorn trivia.
Let me tell you something, Pandeo.
All right. I promised you a quote from David Lynch, and here it is. Director of the previous Dune stated that he has zero interest in Dune 2021. He cited that his issues with the new movie have nothing to do with director Denis Villeneuve, but with his own painful memories of making the 84 version.
Did he even want to make the original one?
He did.
I think he did.
It just didn't work out.
Well, listen to this quote.
The production problems were insane.
Quote, because it was a heartache for me. It was a failure and I didn't have final cut.
Okay.
I've told this story a billion times. It's not the film I wanted to make. I like certain parts of it very much, but it was a total failure for me.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, he's like, they wanted him to come back and do a couple other things after Dune. They wanted him to do like a sequel and then something else back in the 80s, and he doesn't even like to talk about it anymore.
It's kind of like, what's his name doing Alien 3? He just won't talk about it anymore.
Oh, David Fincher?
Fincher, because Fox took it away from him and
Fincher,
re-edited it.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not talking. If anyone talks to him about it, he's just like, nah, I'm not talking about it ever again. All right, the book's title was a result of Herbert's stroll on the sand dunes of a beach near Florence, Oregon.
That sounds made up.
Yeah,
that sounds like somebody put in a biography.
That's like whenever like someone's like pitching their company to like venture capitalists. It's like, as a young 5-year-old,
yeah.
I thought, wouldn't it be great if my shoe had wheels on it, so that I could bring medicine to mama.
Yeah, it's so lame. If it's true, cool, but it does sound made up.
That sounds made up.
The famous here's what you wanted to hear about, Taylor. The famous Wadi Rum Valley in Jordan.
Yeah, that's from Lawrence of Arabia.
Selected as their ideal shooting spot. Lawrence of Arabia and The Martian were shot on the same desert. However, a new problem came to light when the makers realized that Wadi Rum lacked sand dunes. The crew then collected samples of sand from Jordan in water bottles so they could match its color to another location. This situation brought them to the barren desert of Rub al Khali in Abu Dhabi.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
Crazy, huh? That was really interesting to me. And last popcorn trivia is Hans Zimmer created all new instruments for the score.
Yeah, I saw the video or a video where they were going through them, and I thought it was pretty.
You
cool.
should look that up. He's fun to listen to. Hans Zimmer talk, just his voice, but also listening to.
Yeah, and he had there was musicians who were worked with him, and I think had history with him, doing so for sure. So they're riffing and going over inventing the new stuff and taking flutes and shortening them way beyond what traditional flutes are and doing all sorts of stuff like that. So it's very fun. Yeah.
It's very cool. So that's all the trivia I have. There wasn't a lot, surprisingly. I know newer movies don't have a ton of trivia, but you'd think this one would have a little more.
Nothing about it being a No Country for Old Men reunion.
How is that? Oh, with
Anton Chigurh
and Brolin.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, that is a reunion.
Yeah, Javier Bardem and James Brolin back again.
That's true.
So originally, back when Dune was first in production back in the 80s, it was Ridley Scott who was going to be directing it at the time. But one of his brothers passed away at the time, so he had to leave the production shoot. But they had to start immediately, way before what the schedule would allow. So David Lynch took over Dune, which allowed Ridley Scott to go on and make Blade Runner, which he became a producer on the sequel. And he was one of the ones that came up with Denis, the director for Dune.
Oh, man, look at this.
That's really cool.
The sci-fi Hollywood.
There's some
Connections within connections.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. Let's get into popcorn beefs.
Where's the beef? Hey, where's the beef?
All right, I have a few large beefs. Large beef, sides of beef.
Yes.
Not old 96ers.
All right, here we go. Be thinking of your beefs, if you have any.
I will chime in if they are the same beefs.
All right. By making its futuristic technology secondary to the plot, themes, and characters, Dune breaks from more traditional sci-fi. Despite being a huge novel for its time, Herbert barely spills any ink covering his world's machinery, feeling that going into too much detail about nuts and bolts would have made his story inaccessible to average readers. Here's the beef. PSA. This is a PSA from your humble movie lover, popcorn priest. The appendix of the book is beef, okay? I made the huge mistake. So
yeah, it's so absurd.
I came out of this movie thinking, oh, I want more of this
I need to discover the backstory.
So I go to our local library and get the book for free, and I see this trove of information in the back, and I'm like, I must read this first. Without consulting anyone.
You know, in the appendix, the actual appendix in the human body, it's at the end of the intestines. It's at the very end.
And that's
so think about it that way.
It's on purpose.
Yeah, it's at the end for a reason.
Well, don't read them, or at the very least, read the book, watch the movie. Then, if you're so inclined, then read the appendix after. Okay, because I can't tell you how many times I fell asleep reading those terrible appendices, and also angry, and I almost quit reading it because of that. So I applaud Herbert for being very judicious in how he wrote his book, because the book is much better than the appendices by far. Okay, that's my beef. I have two more beefs. Lynch's notorious box office bomb is 110% incomprehensible to anyone who hasn't read the book. Realizing this, cinemas began giving their theatergoers page-long appendices to help explain Dune's intricate backstory.
Did that happen?
Yes.
Wait, is this the 80s or is this the new one?
80s. In the 80s. Lynch's.
So, once he didn't have final cut, and they're like, well, we have to put this out.
Correct.
They're like, we're going to give people a primer.
And
yes. Which, if you're going into movie, I already said don't read the appendices, and now you're getting one going into the film.
That has to be audience repellent, I have to imagine.
And if that's the case, if you have to give instructions, then your final cut is.
Yeah, it sounds like they knew that, or they knew that it wasn't comprehensible in a way that they thought.
Well, apparently these didn't help. Roger Ebert, who called the film an ugly, unstructured, pointless excursion into the murkier realms of one of the most confusing screenplays of all time.
Man, I need to go watch it.
Is the original that bad?
I have never
it's
seen
all
it.
over the place.
I heard the first half of it's okay, and then it just kind of gets
it's because they try and cram
flies
so
off
much.
the rails.
Yeah,
I bet it. But as
the fact that
those who have read the book, we might appreciate it.
You might be able to understand it, but I feel like it's too compressed and can cut up.
So because it's Lynch, the styles and like the visuals are amazing. Like you really feel like you're in an alien world.
Really
Yeah.
bad,
But the story is all over the place the way they wrote.
Because I mean, if you think about it, it's like not only was that movie the entire plot of the book, it was shorter than this movie.
Oh wow!
So
they've got to cram all that into 2 hours.
So that's how like
the war between houses.
So you can see how it would get like a short shrift there in terms of being coherent.
Well, and that's probably goes back to Lynch's not having final cut. He probably wanted to be longer.
Yeah, probably, or who knows?
Who knows? All right, my last beef.
I'm sure that was a studio making it 2 hours long.
Oh yeah, I would assume.
More
And you guys are
showtimes.
aware of this, but I need to bring it up for everyone. This is another PSA. An abandoned Dune film adaptation was supposed to be scored by Pink Floyd and Salvador Dali. If you haven't seen the documentary Jodorowsky's Dune and you like movies at all, then watch it immediately or go eat paste.
Didn't we watch that?
I've never seen it.
It's so...
But I don't think that movie would have been good.
No, it wouldn't have. But
it would have been imaginative.
But the documentary is very, very
fair enough.
Because it has so much, like there's this Bible, they talk about it all the time, and it's renowned amongst like directors, and it was like sold for I don't know how much money. You can look it up. There's only 2 of them, and it's insane the visuals in there because he had Mobius and he had H.R. Geiger.
Really?
And he hired, what's the guy that we were talking about in Patton? Or no, not Patton, Napoleon. The big fat guy. George C. Scott?
Orson Welles?
Orson Welles. Orson Welles. He hired him to be the emperor.
Yes.
And
that would be great casting, inspired.
And the way he got him to be on the movie was he promised to hire the chef of his favorite restaurant to be on set.
That's straight Marlon Brando and Superman.
That's
kind of
great
bargain.
stuff. Yeah.
And then Dali wanted $100,000 an hour.
Wow,
and he said yes to all these demands.
No wonder they ran out of money.
Here's the quote from Jodorowsky. I wanted to do a movie that would give people who took LSD at the time the hallucinations that you get with that drug, but without hallucinating.
That sounds dope.
Says would-be director Alexander Jodorowsky. That movie would have been 14 hours long.
Sick.
David Fincher style length with
There's no way.
Nah, there's no way that was going to happen.
But it makes you think about having a cool
really going into the drug elements of the story, which again, this movie doesn't. I don't know what the sequel will, but
I feel like they can make a 10-part series about this, and it would be awesome.
Yeah, you could.
Especially how they're making Mandalorian volumes where I feel like they could do
There actually might be a slight hope because the second one does well enough and there's enough books that I could totally see HBO.
There are a lot of books, so I think it's extended.
But aren't they not great?
They end I don't know. Because they stopped. His son started doing it after a while. Frank Herbert wrote a couple and then one that goes way into the future. And then I think there's some prequels and stuff.
Well, in the book, there's a lot of, paragraphs that talk about the future.
Yeah, it's like written from a future perspective. It's like written like a historical document type thing.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you,
any beefs?
Yeah.
Those are all my beefs.
Because, the way that the technology is not really elaborate. In the book, does it go into the fact that they don't use computers and why? Because the movie doesn't do that. And I think that might be...
I don't remember that specifically in the book, but I do remember them talking about it, where that's part of their...
Yeah, okay. Because I remember people who didn't have any context for this, when he's reading a book with print on it, they're like, what is this? This isn't the future. And it's like, well...
They do talk about it.
It's there's a reason that it's like this. But
I think it was more their fear of AI.
That's what it is.
I think that's why,
it is. And that's the reason they're dependent upon spies too. Is they're doing eugenics to develop psychics and stuff like that.
They need it. They need it because they don't have computers.
They refuse. Yeah, like computers are evil. I think in a sense. But anyway,
so
that's I think a beef someone could have.
The people of Dune's beef is AI.
People complain about the name Duncan, Idaho, and that bothers me because it's this is in theory a future from now, right? So Idaho's a place now.
8,000 years
People are named after places. That doesn't seem crazy to me.
But that's 10,000 years into the future.
That's what I'm saying. It would be like a crazy, like ancient Sumerian name now or something. So if someone's like Gilgamesh or something.
Like naming your kid Gad.
I mean, they have stuff like Paul and Peter and, simple names 2,000 years ago.
I'm not saying those won't make it that long. Who can say?
Wow.
But that's what people complain about that. And that's more of a beef with people being like, I'm smarter than this. I wouldn't have the name Idaho. And it's like, you don't know.
I mean, I kind of had beef with all the crazy names that he's robbing from like Hindu and all these Buddhists.
The Muslim stuff? Because there's a lot of that.
And Muslim stuff too. Like I don't have beef with any of those religions or ways of life. I don't know. It just
putting
felt
that
like
into your fantasy,
it was just like
sci-fi novel.
Like let's throw them all together and jumble it up.
Because it came out in the '60s, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it definitely has kind of that era to it of like drugs and.
But it's fine.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine.
But it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have beef with all the reviewers that didn't like it because it's like don't go to it then. Anyway.
That is my thinking because I remember a lot of people seeing this movie and hating it, and I'm like, I feel like. Especially when they had like really specific complaints, I feel like they wouldn't like the book either.
No,
that was my kind of the thing about most of the people complaining. I'm sure there are people who read the book and didn't like the movie. That's fine. Yeah. But I think that if you saw that movie and didn't like it, the chances that you would like the book, I don't think are very high.
I agree.
Because,
I agree. Any beefs, Cole?
It's half a movie. I mean, that's the biggest beef.
That's a big beef.
That's probably, it's like, it's not a movie.
It's a big beef.
It's a big beef. Well,
like if this movie were like 4.5 hours long and had the whole plot, billion trillion stars.
It's a big beef, but at the same time,
for me at least,
as long as they, tie up the loose ends that they opened in part one, I mean, it'll pay off in the end because then you've got basically 2 good chapters. Your setup and then your payoff.
But they didn't know if they could make that.
Yeah, but would that be a beef to you if they tried to squeeze it all into one?
I wouldn't have liked that either. That's why I'm saying it needed to be 5 hours long.
Okay.
Well,
it needed to be like Lawrence of Arabia, 4 hours, 20 minutes.
Which is going to be the case with part 2. If it's 2.5 hours, you'd have your 5-hour explanation.
I know.
That's
and
true.
If they had released that continuously as one single product, masterpiece. Masterpiece.
All right. Any more beefs?
Again, I don't know if it would work if you didn't know anything, but we've kind of gone over that. It works for some people, works for some, for others it doesn't. I don't know.
A sphincter says what? What? A sphincter says what? What? Exactly.
Popcorn Puzzles. Composer Hans Zimmer is a big fan of the new novel Dune and turned down working with frequent collaborator Christopher Nolan on Tenet to score this film. For the same reason, Denis was the top choice, but turned down the offer to direct the Bond film No Time to Die.
They both made the right decision. Yeah. It's like, what are you doing?
I mean, it's a puzzle just because it's crazy.
Tenet would not have been improved by a better soundtrack. And
No Time to Die, the story was all over the place. It's not.
Yeah,
I would love to see a Denis Villeneuve Bond film.
I would.
But yeah, given the opportunity to do this, though,
no, I would rather have Dune.
How many times in your career? Because I mean, again, this isn't even like what he did with 2049, which was a pre-established thing. He got to make most of this. Although, isn't it weird that the main guy, Chalamet, he looks like the guy from the 80s movie, right?
He looks a lot like him.
I don't remember what the description in the book was, but that's
McLaughlin.
Yeah, he looks, and that's. He has weird. The same haircut. It looks like almost, but I don't know if that's intentional or if that just. What happened there? I mean, he's the right age. It's fine.
It works.
I think he's because you want him to he kind of does have that rich kid look,
the pretty boy,
which you would expect.
The pretty boy. Dude.
So I think it works for this aristocrat. I think he's a fine. I don't really care for him. He's fine. I don't really feel either way about him.
I'm kind of the same way. They could have chose somebody better, but
it's like I think he fits.
Yeah.
He's not out of place. He's the type of character you want in that role.
I think it's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah. No beefs there. Puzzle maybe, but no beef. Hans Zimmer spent a week in the deserts of Utah to assimilate some of the sounds of the landscape.
Same, bro.
His thinking for the score. Wow. That's a puzzle to me. Like just hanging out in the desert for a week.
He's committed.
Well,
that's awesome.
Because that's why like there's some like sand, like wind, like that he uses in some of the songs that it's in that video.
It's very
so.
cool.
There's no way that that's probably where he got it from. Is just kind of that stillness
being
with
there.
like wind across sand and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah.
Herbert Frank wrote 7 books. Brian wrote the other 11.
Yeah, and those I think there's some prequels in there about like
he wrote like 4 before
about
and
the
then like
about the AI conflicts and stuff that led to it being the way that it is in the later ones. But again, the movie doesn't address that at all. So if you didn't know, you might be confused. But,
I don't want to read any of those books.
yeah, me neither. I'm good.
But that's kind of what I mean.
I'm an older man now. I don't got time for that.
But
movies, that's where it's at.
It makes sense though, the kind of way like because you're Harkonnen empires, like giant battleships, like they're way more. You can kind of tell they're more technologically.
Well, they're richer.
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I like the way they
true.
portrayed it. Whereas Atreides is just kind of the
that spice
forgotten
money.
Yeah, that's right.
pushed off to the side, which is why their tech is older and why they kind of get.
I mean, it's an oil allegory. I mean,
oh yeah,
That's true.
So
too.
I mean, and it's funny that we haven't even mentioned that.
That is true that we haven't even mentioned.
or what?
Because I mean, it's used for transportation. The whole like empire is dependent upon it. It's oil.
They cannot stop making it,
and it's
or
in the desert.
It would be like the collapse of everyone's civilization. All the houses
Requires a violent repression of others to secure it.
the sandworms would be ecological protesters.
literally like part of
So, I mean, like-
religious things.
So I mean, I think that's not necessarily a beef. It's like, it's not like Avatar where it was obvious.
That's true.
Well, but it's only part of it though, where they want control, but it's also all the just the royalty arguing about but
Just power
working.
struggles.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Very
what
cool.
I think of.
Okay, this one. I'm sorry. I'm trying to touch this subject very, very cordially
Just
and
touch it
lightly and gently. So I'm going to ask a question.
Okay.
We don't need to be crazy.
These are
with
the
this.
best kind when you have to hype it up like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Kynes' character was modified in the movie. According to the novel, Dr. Kynes is a white male.
Really?
However, in the movie, Dr. Kynes is a black woman. I don't care that it is this.
I didn't know this, so that tells you how much I remembered.
But
But yeah, you would probably notice
just
that.
generally speaking, okay, I'm not saying that I don't want that late, because she did an awesome job, great actress. She brought some really cool things to the character.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you feel about like this? Is it
was
okay?
Dr.
Does it
Kynes-
matter? I don't know. I don't know.
Was Dr. Kynes in the book like also like a Fremen, like with blue eyes and like lived with the
Yeah, and he was like a botanist type
interesting
guy that was just it was put there by the Empire or the Emperor, not the Empire. That's not Star Wars.
I'm trying to think. There's not that many women in the movie, so that might have been why they did it.
Well, and I know that Denis really wanted a very strong woman presence in the film. So I think that's another way that he could do that, which is
And you don't get
fine.
you don't get a lot of Fremen type people either.
No, well, not,
you get
not
you get
until the
Javier
second half.
Bardem for a little bit.
I just know that a lot
Glimpses of
people,
Zendaya.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just asking.
That is
questions.
interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Like if you read a book and
It wouldn't bother me.
like I think it bothers me on the converse where we have like let's say a book or source material that's all Asian and then they don't cast Asian people.
You can say it's Annihilation. Nobody will blame
Yeah,
you
you
for it.
can't. But I mean that Annihilation is so funny because he just didn't. That's not revealed till like the second book, and he just hadn't read that.
Oh, I didn't read.
Yeah,
any of
Natalie
those.
Portman's character is
Natalie
supposed to be
Portman's
Asian.
Oh.
And so there was an outrage.
And he's like, I didn't know that.
Oh, the director didn't because
they don't
read it.
They don't.
Oh.
They
hadn't
don't
read
talk about it.
they
at
hadn't
all.
read the second one, so yeah.
Oh. Well, see that bothers me. So I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it matters. Wouldn't have noticed it. I'm curious as to why, because that's a conscious decision that they made.
I think it's because of what he wanted. He wanted more a very strong woman
Or just more
presence.
Yeah, because again, the only other woman in the film, really, at least in this first one.
Well,
And
you
that
have-
also
you
makes
have
sense because Zendaya is going to be in the second one. And
Well, you got Zendaya, you got the Reverend Mother,
Yeah.
you have his mom.
There's a princess.
but Zendaya is not really in this one. It's really only his mom. So I think that makes some sense to have like a more balanced. Like I think probably it's probably part of it is because it's only the first movie. Like it's only the first half of the book.
True.
And so they're like, well, it's,
I just thought it's
interesting.
It's a thing.
I wouldn't have noticed that. The gender swapping.
The whole Lady Jessica's clan, though, too, I'm sure might play a role.
Oh, and they're all women. The Bene Gesserits are all women.
Bene Gesserit. I keep forgetting the word.
But then again, they're kind of suspect in terms of like their motives.
They're very sus, those ladies.
Yeah, so
my last puzzle, and it's a beef. It's a peef. Is the appendix. So that's the puzzle. Oh, is it just like timelines? And it's
like
very, very.
I don't even remember what's in it.
Dry, and it actually the most thing that I enjoyed about that was they have a lot more about Dr. Kyne's character and his backstory, which was cool. But the rest of it,
you didn't know because you hadn't read the book. Because you were reading the book backwards. Like I don't even know what's going on.
So stupid. Any other puzzles before we get into our last category of redemption?
They remade, if you want to read the book, or if you prefer audiobooks, they redid Dune on Audible, but it's an entire cast, so like every character.
No, I don't know. It's a radio play.
It's really well done.
Nope.
I listened to the first half, and I want to finish it now. It's really good.
Speaking of Audible books that I read or I've listened to like that was the Alien 3, what should have been the Alien.
Oh, really? They did like a script, like adaptation.
It was awesome.
I know.
It's like 2.5, 3 hours long.
It's sad, but like
very cool.
Have you ever seen the original like concept art they made for it in pre-production for the third?
Yes.
Oh my! It would have been so amazing if they just let him do what he wanted. It would have been cool.
Humble brag and shameless plug. Please go listen to my Alien and Predator reviews.
Right. Masterpieces.
Yeah, they're the best. I did way too much research.
Still blows my mind. Jean-Claude Van Damme was the original Predator.
Is that real?
It is real.
Okay.
He hated this.
I thought that
was
like
there for 2 days, and then they fired him.
I thought that was maybe like an AI generated image of they're like Jean-Claude in alien suit.
I guess it was so hard to move around.
See,
in that suit.
this is what AI is robbing us of. I couldn't have appreciated that image when I saw it.
Well, and he was angry that his face was going to be covered up.
He was hoping to be a bigger star. Yeah, like helping blow up.
I mean,
plus he was really short. So, and the alien.
Yeah, I guess he's like average height, isn't he?
He's like 5'5".
No, he's like 5'9" or something. I don't know.
Let's see. How tall is Jean-Claude Van Damme, Siri?
Jean-Claude Van Damme is 5 feet 9 inches.
Oh, dang.
Man, I was dead on.
Very cool. Yeah. All right. Last,
the Predators,
but not least. And please, Apple, don't take our podcast down for using Siri. We're using your products, okay? Please just calm down.
Would they do that?
I don't know. I'm just preemptively telling them to be nice. Okay. Popcorn redemption.
I have exorcised the demons.
And if you're just joining us for the first time, Popcorn Redemption has been made because of Cole's horrific choice of making us watch Macbeth, and all we had was negative things to say about it. So Popcorn Redemption was born so that we
should watch the Coen Macbeth and see if we change our minds.
I told you I would never veto a movie again, so I will watch it with you.
It has subtitles.
Oh, the Macbeth one? The Coen brothers?
The Apple one?
Yeah, they have.
That might help.
I watched the first 20 minutes, but I didn't finish it. But it does have subtitles because I can understand
Shakespeare. I'm fine being some uncultured swine. It's fine. I don't care.
It's fine. The audio version of Hamlet I listened to was amazing.
Nah, it's.
I plucked out three.
They need
things.
to talk normal.
No, that's they rewrote the dialogue, so it's more modern. It's way easier to understand.
All right, let's come back to redemption.
All right.
My horrible taste in movies. We had to create this category.
Yes, it's all about you, Cole.
It is.
All right, I have three things that I thought were really cool about this film that I want to draw attention to. Some of it has a little bit of trivia in it as well. Adapting Dune for the big screen has been a lifelong dream of Denis ever since he learned about David Lynch's cult classic Dune from the magazine's Fantastic Films and Starlog, and read Frank Herbert's novel when he was around 12 years old. He wanted to make a faithful adaptation, so he waited until he'd done the science fiction film Arrival and Blade Runner 2049 first, so that he would have sufficient experience in the genre before starting to work on this film. In fact, scenes from his prior films are strongly influenced by his interpretation of scenes from the novel.
Man, look at him just like coming back at my like previous comment about production design. Turns out Dune was behind it all.
Yeah, he just wanted it so bad.
Just doing rough drafts for Dune.
And I just love that someone has passion like that. It's great.
I don't know. That seems like some possible like stretching the truth, because it's like, how did he know he would like be able to make it at all? Did he buy the rights to it?
No, he was just a kid that was like,
I'm saying like when he was making these, when he was like decided, I'm going to make this $100 million Blade Runner movie so that when I'm ready, I can make Dune.
No, I think that he had a desire to make Dune, and he's like,
but he didn't want to.
He was afraid of it.
So like after he like had his first big success, he didn't want to cash in immediately.
That's what he was working towards.
So like after Sicario, he didn't want to be like, Dune, give me Dune.
Yes,
fair enough.
Like,
okay,
let me do these other ones, and they were well received.
Wait, did Arrival or Sicario? Which one came out first?
Sicario
first,
then Arrival. And then Prisoners.
Prisoners was way before.
Because I mean, I feel like Sicario was his first big, like...
Yeah, that was after Prisoners. Arrival.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. But was Prisoners after? Nah,
yeah, Prisoners was after Arrival. That's right.
No, before Arrival.
No, it was before Arrival.
Before Arrival, yeah. It was Prisoners,
Sicario,
Arrival.
You kind of see the budget increasing with those movies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, okay, yeah.
All right, this was another thing that I really liked, and we talked about it last week with the blending of CGI and practical effects. Many of the ships were created using real practical effects, such as the Thopters that were constructed using gimbals on the highest hills in Budapest. Actors could sit inside their cockpits and be moved by the effects crew in whatever way was necessary for the scene.
Oh, cool.
And I really like
Budapest.
It's probably cheaper to film there. Oh, they also had huge sets. All the sets for
Caladan. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah, you'd want some rural place to build like the giant stuff. Yeah,
palaces were all built.
I guess Budapest's not rural. But I mean, real non-Hollywood price gouging. Yeah. I guess that's what I meant by
all the rural stuff in the Dune, like the Dune Palace. All that was full scale made. For the show. And last but not least, Josh Brolin, who has previously worked with Villeneuve on Sicario, said that he didn't bother reading the script. I think I pretended to read it, says Josh. And I think that's hilarious and awesome. And that's the last redemption that I had.
Have you ever, you should read, I need to find it. They did some interview with Josh Brolin about when he was on No Country for Old Men.
Oh, really?
And I guess the Coen brothers are like so hard to work with at times because they don't really like give that much direction. Like they'll go through and film a scene, and then Brolin had to like stop when they yell cut and look at him and be like, is that good enough? Or what do you think? And they just kind of like shrug or give one word answers. So then I guess they'd have to interpret like what that means or wait to see if they want to call another scene. But it was the funniest thing. Like they started making life hell for each other, like, cause there was no communication going on back and forth. It's pretty funny.
I heard that they like kind of punked him too by making him do more takes because he was thinking, well, I need to do another one, and they're like, oh yeah, go ahead, let's do another one. And it was like a weird thing about putting in an extra word or not a word or something.
Yeah,
and they just left it in because they thought it was funny. And every time he sees it, he's like, oh geez, that was them making fun of me.
Well, part of it too is,
did you hear that they're getting back together?
Really?
To make a new movie? It's beautiful. We're back.
I like that.
Wait,
yeah, I know.
Back?
The Coen brothers.
They separated.
They
what?
They made solo movies. That's what that Macbeth was. That wasn't a Coen brothers movie. That was like a Joel Coen movie.
They both produced it though. They both.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying they hate each other.
Yeah. No, we're not saying they separated in a bad way.
They stopped, like they weren't co-writing scripts or co-directing.
Oh, I thought they worked on Macbeth.
No, it was after Hail Caesar. Because apparently that production on that wasn't pleasant. And they were like, let's take a break. Huh. But you know what? I'm glad that they did, and I'm glad that they're back together.
Because it'll be better for us.
That's right.
Exactly. All right. Any redemptions? Anything you guys liked about the film? And then let's give our rating.
I like adventures. I like space.
All the acting
I think
is really good.
Sandworms are cool. It's got a star-studded cast. I mean,
everybody like the characters.
It's hard to like.
Good.
It's one of those movies. they, again, the person who said like every 6 years or so, it sounds about right that you get like
True.
a lot of money behind something new, and then they can put in a lot of like top tier talent.
It seems like when they change executive heads or like the
it's
like, you know what, let's give it a go. Let's try this shit out.
I mean, we'll see, but if it keeps happening, but you don't get movies like this very often. If you don't like it, it's not for you. It's fine, but give it a shot if you think it might be. I mean, I'm curious because I mean, Star Wars is similar. It obviously came out around this, like after this, but I'm curious, like if someone likes Star Wars, could you imagine them not liking this?
True.
No,
that's an interest. I feel like if you're into that kind of space opera type
Star Wars is more like family friendly, like a little upbeat,
you could be
the same.
I mean, it's different. It's similar enough though. Although maybe they would just think that this ripped it off. I don't know.
True. What's your final rating?
If it were a full movie, billion trillion stars, but as a half movie, just a good amount of stars. Again, when I saw it in theaters, I gave it a billion trillion stars and was like pumping my fist and praising movie magic. But
yeah, I'm trying to think if I could give it a golden bucket or not.
I mean, I think you have to wait and see. I think you could. I think maybe when you do like the second movie,
seeing them together as a
then
whole,
you can say like whether I don't know that. I don't think you can give this one that. It's not a full movie.
I think it's a large bucket, and we'll wait and see.
Yeah,
I like that.
Not like that's kind of. I mean, they do have like the possible visions of the future in it, which it makes me wonder if that was like his out. He was thinking of like, well, I mean, if I don't get to make the other movie, you know where it was going.
It could go.
Or like here's some of the paths, like other planets and other craziness. So I don't know. What do you?
Cole?
That's where I'm torn because I'm kind of on the fence too. I want to give it 4 because watching it a second time, I discovered a whole lot more. Like the acting's still really good. Like 2.5.
Well, and you haven't read the book, so
no, I haven't. This was
a good rating.
Yeah, I saw 10 minutes of the 84 version. But the first time I watched it, I mean, I had a whole bunch of questions and like investigated. But then the second time, a lot more things become clear. But it's still like entertaining. Like the flow, the pacing is really good. The only thing that the only like roadblock I have is the Bene Gesserit when they show up to interview Paul, and the whole scene just kind of seems rather random. But I'm hoping that comes into play in the second part. But other than that, it flows really good. Like the action's really good. Everybody's like really entertaining to watch, and you're not really sure, what's going to happen or how it's going to play out. But it also leaves you like really excited for the second half because now it's set up kind of, he's got these special powers. He's, there's this warring clan after him. The emperor, wants to make sure that their line's wiped out. So it's very interesting that they've built it up really good. That the second half's either going to be, extremely amazing, or you're going to wash your hands clean of it and never speak of.
It'd be so cool if
either
it was
portion
bad.
again.
How funny would that be if he also couldn't get the second half like the other dude?
He wants to do a third one. He's mentioned it.
Yes.
If he pulls a David Gordon Green and screws up the trilogy.
I need to watch those movies to know why you
I think you
it
should
so
just
much.
do
the first one.
I know. You like the first one.
Watch the first one. Ignore the rest. They're so stupid.
I don't know how they could be that
What are you guys
bad.
talking about?
The Halloween trilogy.
The first one was amazing, like one of the best ones, and then the rest were so garbage.
If we want to point to an example of someone starting off strong
and then stumbling on this, taking the next step.
I can appreciate that. That's really good.
And his new Exorcist movie is.
So you're giving it a 4?
I say 4.
4 out of 4.
I mean, I'm surprised you picked this movie, but even though I'd seen it before, it felt like it went by in 20 minutes. I loved it.
I love the length. I'm with Taylor. I could have more.
It's like I like the Lord of the Rings movies, so I like how
And it's one of those. It really feels like you're transported to an alien world. You don't feel like you're looking at.
It's like that thing they talk about, and like Avatar disease or whatever happened after that first movie came out, where people were like, "I wish I was on Pandora. I've been depressed ever since." That's what Chris sounded like after he watched it. He's like, my mind is filled with Arrakis. I need to be transported.
Go back.
And that's the thing. You feel
so
like
it does
really
have that.
alien.
It does have that escapism element to it that I think is really
pulls
strong.
you in.
The title of that one guy's review, I left the theater with Dune, but Dune can't leave me.
Yeah, see? That's what happened to Chris. It's happened to me, pumping up my fist.
And now
we
we only got to wait about 4 months for the next one.
You know what? I forgot to mention about that box office return. It came out on HBO Max at the same time. So who knows what it should have been.
No, that was one of the ones they did.
No, that one was.
No, it was.
I watched it again on HBO Max that week. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was a horrible idea.
Horrible idea.
So, I mean, yeah. So who knows what it would have made? We can't even judge it on that.
That's
Holy
true.
crap, I
Maybe
thought it was one of the ones
Maybe that's
they
why they greenlit it, because
That
there was
feels,
so
yeah.
much.
It's like, that feels like, yeah.
Well, I love that that's how we end.
It's just another tidbit that I remembered.
That's it for this week.
November 3rd, the second one. Sorry.
All right.
There we go.
Mark your calendars,
Mark your
friends.
calendar. I am with you always. Look for me in the cloud at Popcorn Priest. I love movies and would love it if you would share the love. Share this with the movie lover in your life. Another way to support the show is by throwing a few shekels at the priest by visiting patreon.com/Popcorn Priest and see what extra perks you can enjoy. If you made it this far, go give us a 5-star review on Spotify or on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I command.
Harry Potter-fy.
And as always, thanks for listening, and thanks to my special guests, Baron Taylor and Duke Leto Cole. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for listening.
Yeah, Duke Jared Leto.
When you watch movies, you can pop off, pop in, or pop out, but always bring the popcorn.